Gavin, one quick story that I just wanted to start off the show by getting your reaction to. I was a little alarmed at first, and then I thought a little bit more about how Google Chrome is probably already using all of our data in about as evil of a way as OpenAI has. But OpenAI launches web browser to compete with Google Chrome. OpenAI said Tuesday it's introducing its own web browser, Atlas, putting the ChatGPT maker in direct competition with Google as more internet users rely on artificial intelligence to answer their questions, which did remind me, I went in and disabled it, but you normally have Google now just giving you AI as its like, number one response to everything that you search for. It's kind of ruined the search platform, in my opinion, right? It doesn't, and it's already been fucked for a while. Back when we were kids, it used to actually give you the best information first. Now it's all weighted with SEO and monetization and all that kind of crap. But even worse nowadays, it'll just give you a screed of text that's 90% of the time not even accurate and shit that out for you. It seems like OpenAI thought that Google was encroaching on their lane, and now they're going to try and take on the number one internet browser. What's your reaction to that?
That they're going to lose.
Yeah.
That they're going to lose in Google's case, not ChatGPT. ChatGPT is going to win.
Oh, you think ChatGPT is going to beat out Google on this?
I think they already are.
Fuck.
I think they already are, which is why Google had to fucking completely remake its entire point in order to be a shitty version of ChatGPT. As you just said, Google totally remade itself into a copy of ChatGPT. That's already happened. As you said, if you type in something to Google search, it's going to give you a ChatGPT-esque response nowadays. So they're already trying to compete with ChatGPT. Unfortunately for Google, I do think that ChatGPT is the future as far as what will ultimately take over. I think that Google Chrome probably in 5 or 10 years will be looked at similarly as to how we look at Internet Explorer.
Hot take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a hot take. I just think that's the natural progression of things if you look at it. And I do already see ChatGPT completely taking over. I mean, it's also very similar to how TikTok took over Facebook, right? These things have a shelf life, usually of like, 10, 20 years until a newer, bigger thing comes along. And in the same way that TikTok totally is way more popular than Facebook, what did Facebook and Instagram and all these other social media apps do to try to desperately keep up? They also turned themselves into like, TikTok wannabes. Look at Instagram Reels, look at YouTube Shorts, look at Reddit nowadays with their videos, right? It's all just an attempt to keep up with TikTok instead of doubling down on what actually made those social media services original and fun in the first place. They just chased that dragon that was TikTok. In the same way, yeah, I already see Google totally falling into the trap. Not only have they changed their own search engine to basically be a shitty version of ChatGPT, but they're increasingly pouring all their money into the AI arms race to develop increasingly, good AI that can keep up with ChatGPT. But people are not going to, they're not going to opt for it. Ultimately, they're going to go for ChatGPT because that was their first and that's what they trust the most.
Interesting. I kind of disagree with you. I think that Google's market share is going to really do a lot for it. In the same way that, Instagram bought up iMessage, in the same way that Facebook bought up iMessage. I think that
Facebook bought up Instagram.
They bought up Instagram. They also bought up, what was
WhatsApp?
WhatsApp. That's what I was thinking of, not iMessage. Either way, they've done a lot of cannibalizing the smaller companies. And one of my reactions to this was actually a little bit different than yours. Obviously, I agree that they've put all of their eggs in the AI basket, but I'm thinking that the brand recognition of Google could be something that would, over time, kind of subserve ChatGPT, because I, as a user, I trust Google, if I'm just going off of brand recognition, far more than I trust OpenAI, far more than I trust ChatGPT. And what my concern was reading this was a little bit different than yours, which was that Google getting so heavily involved in the AI information and doubling and tripling down will actually lead to more people trusting AI, because Google has gotten to a point where it's so ubiquitous in our society that thoughtlessly, just Google it. That's how you're going to get the correct information.
But these days, I actually hear more people say, I'm going to ask ChatGPT something, or I'm going to ask Grok something, not let me go ask Google something.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't get out much, so I don't know what other people are doing, but that was just my normal reaction. Like, people will have this brand trust with Google that wasn't present with OpenAI. Do you think that's changing?
I mean, maybe if people our generation and older, there may be some truth to that. But again, I mean, you could have made the same argument with like MySpace back in the day. That didn't stop Facebook from subsuming it. Same with Internet Explorer and Google Chrome. I mean, there's lots of examples of brand recognition or trust being a pretty, fleeting or fragile concept, right? When there's hot competition right around the corner, most people aren't that loyal to some fucking tech company that
Kind
they've
of they
been.
are though. When it comes to Google and YouTube, those are two of the websites that throughout my entire life they have been the most ubiquitous. Bing never took off. Firefox never really took off. You have DuckDuckGo for people like us who really hate using it, but we can't use it with StreamYard because it's incompatible with the browser setting. So
But like
I've
I
always
said,
felt
even
like
Google is a newer thing. It did take over Internet Explorer within our lifetimes. Remember, Internet Explorer was like what we learned how to use the
no,
internet
for
on
sure.
back in elementary school, and now that shit is not even. I don't even know if you can download it anymore. Like it's completely obsolete. And again, I do think it's kind of proof that like I mean. Google desperately trying to just turn itself into a ChatGPT replica, I think is already kind of them admitting defeat, right? They're just trying, they're not going to do ChatGPT better than ChatGPT. Do you think that?
I think the jury's still out on that. I think because of the amount of prowess and the amount of data that Google already has as a head start, they've been accruing metadata on every bit of all of us for decades now. And on top of all the YouTube information that they're bringing in, because that's all one shared company over Alphabet, I do think that if they really go to the fucking mattresses over this and they decide this is the future, which people like Mark Zuckerberg, people like Larry, what's his fuck page or whoever founded
Larry Ellison?
no, whoever the guy that found Sergey and Larry, I think, are the guys that founded YouTube
Oh,
or founded Google
gotcha.
back in the day. Either way, these big tech oligarchs, they all talk about it as if it's like the final frontier, artificial intelligence. So I do think YouTube, Google, Alphabet as a parent company they're going to come to fucking play to win. And so I do push back a little bit that it'll be like a de facto W. If it does go the way of Internet Explorer, that will be earth shattering, right? Because one of the things that Google's always been very self-aware of is the fact that they were a major disruptor and that they stole the competition away from everyone. So they've been very monopolistic ever since then. They've been very determined to elbow out the competition. And that's why you've never seen a search engine that's gotten anywhere close to the popularity of Google. And for a while, there was no
But I just think the
web
concept,
browser.
yeah, no, you're right about that. I'm not denying that at all. But I just think the whole concept of a search engine is now obsolete. I think that most people nowadays are going to just ask an AI bot what they previously would have had to scour the internet via a search engine for. Their minds have already been rewired, right? And again, the Google AI just isn't as good as the ChatGPT AI. Something else we have to keep in mind, Zach, is Google was originally just a search engine. Yeah. It's so much more now. Think about when they acquired YouTube, as you just referenced. Think about when they started Google Docs and all this
Drive,
other stuff,
yeah.
Google Drive, Google Play, Google Music, Google all this stuff. It's only going to be a matter of less than 5 years before ChatGPT is doing the same thing. And they're acquiring their own version of YouTube, and they're launching their own version of Chat Slides, Chat Docs, Chat Play, Chat Music. Like this is a huge brand. It's only going to get better. Right now, it's in its infancy. Google is, what else do they really have to do? I don't know. It just seems like they've maxed out almost, whereas ChatGPT is right at the dawn. So I see the next era of the internet being very ChatGPT forward. It's part of the reason why I've been so up in arms about AI is because it's radically changing the DNA of the internet and the way people use it. And yeah, I do think that eventually, not tomorrow, not next year, but eventually, yeah, Google will kind of be looked at as an old school, relic of an older internet, which has now been remade around services like ChatGPT and Perplexity and all these, and Grok and all these others.
I'm actually getting depressed because you're starting to convince me. What I enjoy about Google is the ability to sift through the sourcing. What I enjoy about Google is that it does remind me of old school research, right? I think we're like the last generation that enjoys that. I think we're one of the last, and I'm feeling a little bit like an old person now because you're convincing me that I engage with the internet like somebody who is not a young person engaging with the internet. And I think that might be right. But yeah, because normal people aren't going to care if they can see where the website was that was giving them that information. Normal people aren't going to like want to see, oh, where did I get this? Unless you investigate further, which is the whole asset of the way that Google was structured. You have a long list of options to choose from. You can scroll and find what you think is the best one for you. But you're right that they've also fucking destroyed that feature on Google because now it's just a bunch of paid slop. You're not actually getting the good information that you once were. I have to do the stupid thing that I think everybody does where it's like, let me see what Reddit has to say about this. And then I'll Google something and then put Reddit at the end so that I can at least see a forum of people having an engaged conversation about like, what is the actual outcome in this situation? Like, how do people view this? Because otherwise you'll just get a bunch of weird, Axios articles, like just thoughtless kind of crap that rises to the top of what Google suggests to you. Right. So I am now I just have this uncomfy feeling about that because
Yeah.
then you get to the point where it's like, okay, so let's say I am asking Google AI or OpenAI or ChatGPT or whatever, and then it just tells me the answer, right? But it's like, how do I really investigate that further? How do I know? How do I scrutinize that information if I'm just getting it from this like amorphous cloud? I feel like that
That's
is.
why I don't talk to that shit. I don't fucking trust it. I don't talk to it at all. I don't fucking ask it any questions. It's not that hard to find the answer to most things without this stupid, facsimile of a human being like telling you or whatever.
But if it replaces Google, that will be your option, right?
I mean, I'm sure that theoretically, search in like old school search engine alternatives will pop up, like
Mhm.
the DuckDuckGo kind of thing.
And we'll just be boomers for using that instead of
Oh,
ChatGPT.
100%. I mean, as a lot of people in chat are pointing out, we already are. We already sound like fucking boomers even having this conversation. Because, yeah, most people don't even think twice about it. They're just like, yeah, I'll ask ChatGPT, I'll ask Perplexity or whatever
I've
the
never
fuck
even
AI.
heard of Perplexity.
Perplexity is actually the better one. It doesn't
Fuck.
take as much of your data. It doesn't spy on you as much. Um, but yeah, it's definitely pretty interesting. And also, someone I forget who pointed it out, but someone pointed out that ChatGPT made their app or their bot have more of a personality versus Google's Gemini AI,
Mhm.
which doesn't have as much of a personality. So you can't like treat it like your friend or your therapist or your girlfriend or whatever. So that's another reason ChatGPT has really like sunk its hooks into a lot of people. They feel like they actually have a relationship with the AI bot. So that's another reason too. Just on a psychological level, it's like that's your friend, whereas
So,
Google is just a sterile, cold, machine.
is it? Do you think that that's like what kind of a scale of a problem do you think we're dealing with when it comes to that? Because I wonder, is it 1,000 people that are really down bad with ChatGPT? Is it 50,000 people that are really down bad with ChatGPT where they're in love with it? Like what kind of a scale of a problem are we seeing where people are relying on ChatGPT to be their friend and therapist? Like, is it like what
A lot.
percentage of the American adult population? Like, are we thinking like 1 or 2%, or are we thinking closer to like 7 or 8%?
I mean, I'm sure that it varies by age. I'm sure that more really older people are less into it compared to younger people, but I'm sure a lot of them are increasingly just integrating it into their life, talking to it, even if they're not like obsessed. Still they're probably talking to it. They're probably like in a conversational way. So yeah, and it's only going to get worse. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert.
Sure. I know. And now at this point, I'm just spitballing because I think it's an interesting conversation to kind of imagine what will life look like for people who want to seek out good, truthful, robust information on the internet in a decade, right? Will it be the home that it once was for people like us, where it was like you have the most powerful tool at your fingertips? You can find out anything you want to know. Will that still be the case? Or will 80% of it, 90% of it just be like, here, ask me a question, and like a magic 8 ball, I shake it and spit it back out to you?
Yeah, it's tough to know, and I do think that yeah, I mean it's gonna be rough. We're gonna have to really start a movement to encourage people to actually
Every time I talk to you about it, I get more scared.
yeah,
I don't think
I
about it
think
as
too much
much.
about it.
And then Gavin will be like, "No, dude, you're not thinking about it enough." I think like, "Oh, fuck AI, bro. Like the Dolly image generator is bullshit. It's horrible for the environment." And then you get deeper into it, and I'm like, "Man, I just don't use it at all, right? Like I've just completely cut it out of my life. I don't like to use anything that has artificial intelligence."
Same.
I'm almost, I'm almost as a researcher, I need to spend more time like understanding the cultural impact. Because my reading of that article when I saw it was like, "Oh, lol, OpenAI is gonna fail. This is stupid. Like nobody goes to war with Google and wins." Like that was my thought process.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. I mean, obviously, I'm not a fucking expert either. I do pay attention to this shit, but it is possible that OpenAI at some point stumbles and Google is able to assert its authority over the space. Like there was a period of time, I believe, in the 2000s, around the time of the dot-com bubble crash, that everyone was saying Microsoft was fucked. They were saying like Microsoft is dog, it's in the trash, it's never coming back. I remember my dad always tells me a story about how one time he almost freaking got stock in Microsoft when it was really down low and everyone thought it was in the trash. And he always regrets not doing that because he'd be like a freaking billionaire by now if he
Mhm.
had. But there was a time where people thought Microsoft was totally going to be antiquated as well. And it came roaring back. So Google could, in the same way, make a comeback and squash OpenAI if it makes some missteps. I don't really, it's possible. Google does have a lot of clout, name recognition, data, money. It's not like, maybe I'm being a little bit hyperbolic with the Internet Explorer comparison, but I do think that, yeah, ChatGPT is the future.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there. The Vanguard will be there. Be there. Be there.